In this video, we will discuss higher concepts in percentages, where we will discuss how to find increase or decrease of a quantity by a certain percent. Or if the quantities are given to you, how to find the change in the percentage, and some reverse percentage questions. Well, there are different ways to deal such questions, but we will focus mostly on mental math or non-calculated techniques. To begin with, how to find the increase or decrease of a quantity by a percent, we will make use of one of the benchmark or easy percents I've discussed earlier in my previous video on percentage basic concepts. If you haven't watched it, please do it now. I'll provide the link. So, if we are asked to increase or decrease a quantity by a percent, we can make use of one of those benchmark percents where I have discussed, like there were four of them, 1%, 10%, 50%, or 100%. If we are able to find any one of them, it's easy to find the percent of a quantity. So suppose if we have this question where we are asked to increase an amount of 240 pounds by 5%. So here 240 pounds represents 100% of the quantity. And we are asked to increase this by 5%. That means 5% is added to this quantity. So what's 5% of 240? Well, we can make use of 10% here. We know 10% of 240 is 24. You divide 240 by 10 to get its 10%. So if 10% of 240 is 24, then its 5% will be half of 10%. So half of 10% will be half of 24, that's 12. So 12 pounds is 5% of 240. And that has to be added to the original 100% to increase it by 5%. So if you add 12 to 240, you get, so you add this to get 252 pounds. So 252 pounds represents the 5% increase for 240 pounds. Now this is one way of solving this question. There is an alternate approach. We will make use of a multiplier here to increase an amount by a certain percent. Suppose if we have the same question, 240 pounds is to be increased by 5%. So what does that mean? So alternatively, we can see 240 pounds is like the 100% of the quantity. And we are asked to increase it by 5%. So 5% has to go up for 100%. That means we have to add 5% to 100% to make it 105%. We have to figure out what is 105% of 240. Well, it's not very easy to figure out to go from 100 to 105 without using a calculator. So here we can have something in middle. We can make a use of one of the benchmark percents, maybe 1%. So if we can figure out what's 1% of 240. So 1% of 240 is you have to divide 240 by 100 to get 2.4. So 2.4 pounds is 1%. So how much is 105%? So to find 105%, you simply multiply 105 with 2.4. But it's not very easy to, it's easy, but it's not very comfortable doing without a calculator. But still we can figure it out for this question. So 4 fives is 20, you have 2 here, and then 4 ones is 4, 2 fives is 10, we have 1, 2 ones is 2, then add them all, 2, 5, 2. Since there is a decimal, we take away the 0, so we have 252 pounds, which represents 105% of 240 pounds, which in other words, we have increased 240 pounds by 5%. So this is an alternate approach. So moving on, if we have the same question where we are asked to decrease the amount by 5%, suppose, then what do we do? The idea is same, but instead of adding, we take away the value here. So we have seen earlier, 5% here is 12 pounds. So 240 pounds is 100 pounds. It represents 100% of the quantity. 5% is 12 pounds. And since it's asked to decrease or deduce or you have to go down by 5% on this amount. So you have to take away 12 pounds from 240. So if you take away if you take away 12 pounds from 240, you have, this is 8, so that was 3, take away 2, 228 pounds. So 228 pounds is the amount you have after you have deducted 5% from 240 pounds. So this is one way of dealing with it. So alternatively, if you are using the multiplier technique here, so again we have 240 pounds, which represents 100% of the quantity. If you have to bring it down by 5%, you need to figure out what's the percentage when it has gone down by 5%. So you take away 5% from 100 to make it 95%. So what's the quantity for 95%? That's what we have to figure out. So again, we can make use of 1% here, which is 2.4. So 2.4 is 1%. So how much is 95%? You can do 2.4 times 95. So you do 2.4 times 95. 4 5s is 20. 4 9s is 36. Plus 2 is 38. 2 5s is 10. 2 9s is 18. Plus 1 is 19. And then add them all. You have 9, 10, 11, 12. 228. So this 0 goes off. So we have 228 pounds, which is the same value as we are getting using the other method as well. We can practice as many questions as we can where we will have different values, different amounts by different percentages. But if you keep the same approach, you will get the answer easily. Now moving further with this idea, let's move ahead and see. Suppose if we are looking at the first question we have completed, where we were given 240 pounds and after undergoing a 5% increase, it has gone up to 252 pounds. So let's consider the same question to build a new concept here of percentage change. Suppose if we have 240 pounds as the initial amount and it has gone up to 252 pounds. Now the question says we have to figure out what is the percentage change. We see it clearly that from 240 pounds it has gone up to 252 pounds. So there should be some percentage increase here. And we are asked to find the increase in the percentage. So in such questions where the quantity is the initial amount or the original amount is given to you and the final or the new quantity is given to you, and you have to find by what percentage the quantity has undergone the change. To deal with such questions, we first figure out the change in the quantity simply. So what's the change in the quantity? It has gone up by 12 pounds, right? So the change in the quantity is 12. We divide it by the original amount, that's 240, to find the percentage change in the quantity. So since we are dealing with, since we have to find the percentage, we times it by 100. So the change in the percentage, the change in the quantity divided by the original quantity times 100 will give me the change in the percentage of that quantity. So 12 out of 240. So 12, we try to reduce the fraction. 12 goes in 240 20 times. And then 100 divided by 20. Well, I can reduce this further. So 2 goes into 10 5 times. So I get 5% change. So the quantity has undergone a change of 5%. Specifically, it's a 5% increase. Let's see another example here. For example, if we have, suppose there is a car you bought with the amount of 6,000 pounds, and after using it for maybe 2 years, you want to sell it, and you're getting an amount of 4,200 pounds. So here clearly you see there is a reduction in the price. So the change in the percentage has to be a decrease in the percentage. So we are asked to find what's the percentage decrease. By how much percentage has the quantities changed here? So again, we make use of the same technique. We try to first figure out the change in the amounts. That is 6,000, you take away 4,200. So if you take away 4,200 from 6,000, you should get, so that's a 10, 5, 8, so that's 1,800. So the change here is 1,800. And then you divide it with the original amount always. So that's the 6,000 and times it by 100 to find the percentage change. So you can reduce all the zeros here. Well, 3 6 is 18, 3 20 is 60, and then 3 2s is, sorry, 2 3s is 6, and 2 10s is 20, and half the 0, so we get 30%. So a decrease of 30% has happened here from the quantity going down from 6,000 to 4,200. Now moving further, let's consider the same question about the car, where we were given an initial amount and a final amount, and we were asked to find the change in the percentage from the initial to the final amount. Now instead of this, the question asked a little different things. Okay, so let's see what the question says. Suppose if the question asked you, after a reduction of 30 pounds, the car price is 4,200 pounds. Find the original price, or the price before the reduction, or find the old price of the car, the actual price of the car. The question could have been framed in either ways. So let's try to analyze the question and see what exactly it wants you to find. So here it says that there is some car, it had some original value. That original value should be like the 100% value of the car, and we don't know what that is. We have to figure it out. So the 100% value, or the original value, the actual value, is what we are trying to figure out. That's unknown to us. But it says that after a reduction of 30%, on this 100%, it has gone a reduction of 30%. So reduction of 30% on this 100% will make it 70%. You take away 30 from 100 to make it 70. So now the 70% is 4,200. After a reduction, so 4,200 pounds represents 70% of the original value, because it has undergone a change of 30%. Right? So you have to understand this thing very clearly. So original value is out of 100, and this amount is after a reduction of 30%. So after a reduction of 30%, what remains is 70%, and 4,200 pounds is that value, that is 70% of that value. So here, in other words, we are going in a reverse way. We are trying to figure out the original value, the actual or the old value, the initial value of the car. So it's easy for us to deal it if we are doing it in this way. So 100% we have to figure out, 70% is given to you. Now how to go from 70 to 100? Well, we can do it in an easier way. Maybe we can find out 10%. So you go from 70 to 10 by dividing it by 7. You do the same thing for here as well. So 4,200 divided by 7 gives you 600. 600 pounds is 10%. Now what will be 100%? 100% will be from 10% to 100%. You times it by 10. So you do the same thing here to make it 6,000 pounds. So 6,000 pounds represents the original value, or the actual amount of the car before 30% reduction. So you have successfully answered a reverse percentage question. So any percentage given to you, you can find an amount or a percentage which is convenient for you to convert it back to 100% to find the original value. Let's look at another example. Suppose there is this house which costs 4.5 millions after an increase of maybe 25%. So after 25% increase in its price, the house now costs 4.5 millions. We have to find the original price or the old price of the house before 25% increase. So what's the original price? Here again we are dealing with reverse percentage question. So we have to figure out what's the 100% of the 100% value of that price. So that's unknown to us. What is given is says that 4.5 million represents 25% increase. So for 100%, an increase of 25% means it's 120. It has you have to add 25 to 100 to make it 125. So 125% is 4.5 millions. That's 4.5 millions. We have to find what was the price before the increase or the 100% of the price. So here we can go from 125% to 100%. Well, what's the easier way here without using a calculator? Well, we can make use of 5. So if you divide 125 by 5, so if you divide this by 5, so 125 divided by 5 gives you 5 2s is 10, 5 5. So that makes it 25%. So 4.5 million also, if you divide it by 5, so that will be 0.9 millions. Right? So 25% is 0.9 million. So what will be 100%? So to go from 25% to 100%, you can times it by 4. Because 4 times 25 gives me 100. So I do the same thing here as well. 0.9 times 4 gives me 3.6 million. So this is the price of the house before 25% increase, or the original price of the house was 3.6 millions.